Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Tea Diaries. In today's episode, I'm gonna be sharing a few like travel horror stories that I have. Um, if you're vibing with this hoodie, let me show you guys. It's this gray hoodie and it says Blindish on the front. I was recently in a fashion show. My brother actually bought it for me. And so yeah, today I'm going to share like different experiences I've had traveling independently and how horrific those can be sometimes. So pull up a chair, and if you've had any of these, like I would love to know more about it. Either over on my YouTube if you're watching or on Instagram. The first time that I really had like a horrific I want to say like travel experience was this there was this one time where I had went to go like to the salon and my mom was there, and so she's like, "Oh, just come in a Lyft or an Uber and come meet me here." And then, so then I went and I was like, "All right, let me go get my hair done, whatever." And we're sitting there, we're talking and whatever. And then I was like, you know what? Once I was done with my hair, I was like, I'm kind of tired. So, like, I don't know if I want to sit here because my mom still had like a lot longer to go, like, after me. So, I was like, do you want me to wait? Like, I didn't mind waiting for her, of course. And she's like, well, it's up to you. Like, I know you're tired. She was pretty tired too. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll wait. So I waited with her for like 15 minutes or something, and then I was like, all right, I'm falling asleep here. Like I'm just gonna get an Uber and go home. And so she's like, all right, cool. I booked the Uber to come get me. She puts me in the Uber and she's like, all right, just, let me know when you get home, which I always do. And then I was like, all right, so I'm chilling, I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna get home. I'm gonna go relax, chill out for a little bit, and then whatever. So I think, and I need to know if other blind people feel this way. Like, please let me know in the comments if you also have this like sense of like knowing when you're close to being home. Because I feel like it's been that way for me for a while where I'm able to just tell, like, okay, I know I'm home. Like, either I'm on the same block or I'm very close or something. Um, and so I'm just curious to know like your thoughts on it. And I want to know like who else feels that way from my fellow blind listeners. So I always know, right? And so we're like pulling up and he's like, he doesn't speak any English, keep in mind, like he no English. And so he's using Google Translate to try to like communicate with me. And it's making it hard because like I don't know, there was just so, sometimes language can be like the biggest barrier because the way it was kind of like translating over, even though it was in English, like it was like, okay. But I was like, so, and then I would speak into the thing and it would translate it back into Chinese for him. And so he was like, we're here, like it said it in English. And then I translated back and I was like, can you please help me get to the door? Because that's my biggest way of knowing like how to know that I'm really, really home is like, because I personally feel like if I'm in an Uber or a Lyft or accessible transit, like if you just drop me off on the curb, unless I really am like super confident, which like obviously when I'm home, I know and I'm really confident, but still, just so that they're not shitting me, I'll still say like, oh, do you mind please helping me get to the door? And oftentimes they'll say yes, but then sometimes you'll get the jackass that's like, no, sorry. And so I was trying to ask him, and keep in mind, I didn't have my cane, didn't have it with me. And so, blind people, please, like, I don't care if you're going to the grocery store with your sister or your brother or your grandmother. I don't care if you're meeting up with a friend and it's just going to be like a little hour hangout or whatever. I don't care. Please do yourself a favor, carry that cane with you. Even if you're like really confident in knowing like where you are and you're just going to chill at somebody's house, take that shit with you because you will never know like the shit that happens when and how scary. And if you had this experience, like I want to see the comments go crazy with like your experiences, because it's it's been like that was a scary moment for me, because I was like, I because right when I was going, I had this impression of like, oh, I'm gonna be coming back with my mom. Like I don't need my cane, right? Which was stupid of me. Like that was stupid on my part. Cause knowing my lazy ass, I was like, no, I'm gonna go home first. Um, so just take it with you. Just do yourself that favor. Like don't forget it in the house. Don't just leave it behind. Just even if you know you're gonna be trying to like, even if you know someone's coming back to your crib with you, like it doesn't matter. Like take it with you. And that was my lesson that day. And so I like opened the door, and it's like one of those like sliding doors. So I'm like sitting facing outside, like my body is outside, like my body's like no, not really like in the car. It's just I'm just sitting there, and I'm still like in this direction, like facing him, but like the rest of me is like turned to the side. And I'm like, okay, I'm scared because I don't know if I'm in the middle of the street. And I like my life. Like I love my life. And so I'm like, I'm not gonna take a risk and just step out onto this on like out here just in case, because I don't know where he might have parked. And so I'm like asking him, I'm like, can you please help me? And I'm trying to gesture as best as I can as a blind girl. Oh, sorry. I'm like, can you please help me get to the door? Like, do you mind? And I don't think he understood what I was trying to ask him. And so I'm like, okay. And then the other scary part is like I was FaceTiming everybody. Like I FaceTimed a neighbor of mine that lived here. I FaceTimed my brothers, my mom, and nobody answered. And I was like, damn it, like, are y'all serious right now? And so I finally call the woman that does my mom's hair, and I'm like, oh, I'm frantic, right? Like I'm like, can you please put my mom on the phone? And she said, yeah, of course. My mom gets on the phone. She's like, what's going on? I was like, Mom, I've been trying to call you. And she's like, oh, well, like I can't hear my phone or whatever. And I'm like, Mom, like, I don't know. I'm scared. Like, I didn't bring my phone, and he's telling me like we're here, and obviously I can't see it to know 100%, even though I have a feeling that I am home. Like, it's a weird thing. Like, I'll explain more of that if you guys are curious to know how I know, and how like it can be a little like misunderstood. I don't know. And of course, like I'm anxious. So when you're anxious, your body's not really thinking properly. Your brain's not really thinking properly of like, oh yeah, you're home, girl. Like just step out, you got it. And I wasn't in that place yet. And so she finally FaceTimes me, and I'm like, okay, where am I? And she's like, oh, like you're right next to this thing that. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, yeah, the sidewalk's right there. Like, she could see everything. And I was like, okay. So I finally get out the car, and I'm taking like these little baby steps, because he wasn't exactly parked next to the curb. He was like parked like a few feet away from the curb. And so that's also what like scared me, because I'm like, I don't know. And so my mom's like, no, no, it's fine. Like, you're almost there. You're almost there. And she's like, like, I'm on FaceTime with her as I'm walking back to my place. And like, so that was like a scary one for me, because it's hard when language barriers are a thing, but also when you're a blind person and you don't know 100% like where you're located. Like you just don't know when those things are happening, like the whole setup and all that stuff, right? So for me, of course, like it was scary, because I'm just like, I don't know. And so I finally get home. So that was like one horror story, because I didn't travel with my cane that day. And that was the lesson that the universe was teaching me, for sure. The next one was when I traveled by myself on a plane. This was way before this Uber situation. This was when I was like 17 or 16. No, I think I was like 17. I was going to visit my aunt and uncle in Florida, and this was the first time I ever got on the plane by myself completely. And I used to hate flying, hate it with like a burning passion. I hated it so much. I didn't care if I was flying with family. I didn't care about any of that. I just hated flying. I hated the idea of it. I thought of every single negative possibility ever. And, that's just how my brain worked. So, of course, flying for the first time by myself, like my mind is going crazy. And that week, my mom was also going on a trip. So we would both be like away. And, and so she brings me to the airport, and I'll do over on my YouTube, when I'm traveling, soon I'll do a video for like travel tips for my visually impaired and low vision individuals, in case you're like really trying to think about how to navigate the world in a more accessible way. My mom comes with me to the airport. We get a gate pass for her. She comes through to the gate, and I'm waiting there, and the plane finally comes, right? And of course, like my anxiety's going crazy. I'm like, oh no, like I don't know, blah 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 blah. And I finally get on the plane, and of course, with my mind making every single negative possibility up, I sit next to this old lady. This old lady was so sweet. Like I love her to this day. Like I love that lady. Like she was so kind. The flight attendants were amazing. Like probably two of the best flight attendants I think I ever had on a flight. And and since then, like I've traveled a lot with people and without people. And so I sit next to this lady, and she can tell that I'm nervous, because with me, like my face will tell you how I feel before I actually do. So she's sitting next to me, and then we start talking, and the flight attendants come over, and they're like, "Hi, sweetie, like, how are you? Can we get you anything?" And they were the sweetest people. Like, they literally brought me the stuff you have to pay for when you're on a flight: blankets, headphones. Like, I got everything, like those little snack boxes. I got those. I got like everything. And so this old lady, I remember the whole conversation we had. Um, and there was this family that sat behind us that I was like, oh, like, when you overhear like one little thing, especially when you're anxious, like your brain will take that shit and run with it. And so I heard them say like something, and they weren't even talking about anything like negative. It was just them having a conversation. And I heard that, and I started freaking out. And I was like, oh my gosh, like blah, 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 blah. And so, but anyways, this sweet lady, like, she was 81 at the time, I believe. I think 80 or 81. And I really pray that she's still around, because she was so sweet. Um, but and this lady, like, she was active. Like, when I say active, when we got into the conversation, I didn't even realize we were in the air already. I was like, oh shit. She started telling me, I was like, oh, so, do you live in New York? Are you going home, like, to Florida to visit someone? She's like, no, my son lives out here in Long Island, and I live back at home. And where I was gonna be, she wasn't actually far. Like, she was like another town over. And so I was like, oh, nice. Like, I've never been to that town, but um, now that I think about it, I think I have been once. So she's like, I don't know if you guys can see me. Hold on. So so she's like, yeah, no, I live in Florida. And I was like, oh, cool. And then we started talking about that, and I was like, oh, like, and I didn't ask her like in a weird way. I was just like, oh, like, do you live with someone? Is someone getting you from the airport? She's like, oh no, I think she had said she lived alone. And I was like, what? Like, what? That's crazy. But she was like, no, like, I go dancing with my friends, I cook, I do all these things. I was like, yes, ma'am, you better do your thing, okay? And so, like, it helped so much to have her on that flight. And I really feel like God was sending me an angel that day, because he knew like you're scared, you're feeling frightened by things that you can't understand. You don't like this is a new experience for you. You've never flown by yourself before. And I feel like the reason that she sat next to me like that was an angel that I had that day. And I will forever be grateful for her and those flight attendants because like they really helped to take away so much of my anxiety and worry. And then once we landed, like the family behind us, the dad got up and he was like, "Sweetie, you mind me helping you with your bag? Like, you need me to get it for you?" And I was like, "Yes, thank you. I would really appreciate that." And then he was like, "I hope you have a great time in Florida." I was like, "Thank you so much." And I was like, "Wow, everybody was so sweet." And here I was in my mind making up every single negative thing, thinking about every negative possibility and like scenario. And it was just like, girl, you all you have to do is just breathe through it. And I feel like, I mean, that's not really like a horror story, but it's definitely like a travel story for sure. Oh, the other one I had was like 3 years ago. No, 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And I was going to, I think, Canada with my mom. And was it that? No, I feel like it was more recent. Okay, no, it was to Nashville. We were going to Nashville. I think it was either on our way going there or coming back when they literally had to like evacuate us off the plane because one of the engine had failed. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, keep in mind, we were waiting at this airport for a hot minute. And so by the time they were like, "Oh, you have to evacuate off this plane," I was livid. Like I was ready to go to sleep. I was ready for a nap. Like, what are you talking about? Evacuate. And yeah, we all had to get off the plane. They had to figure out what the issue was. And then I think they sent us another plane because that one was like taking too long for them to like fix the problem. And I was just like, okay. So those are like my few travel experiences. If you want to see how I, as a blind girl, travel by myself when I'm going to like taking a flight out somewhere or anything like that, check out my YouTube. It'll be linked in the show notes down below because I'm gonna be taking a trip soon and yeah, if you guys want to be able to like come along for that journey, definitely want you to see what the vibe is like and how the experience goes. I did it once before, but I feel like I didn't do a good job at really like showing you guys things. So, yeah, and leave comments below. If you are a subscriber and you've been here for a minute, just make sure you put your name in the comments. If you're new, put your name in the comments like and just yeah, check out some of my other work over on YouTube, on Instagram. And if you guys want to hear any other stories about like me doing things by myself as a blind girl, definitely let me know because I have so many different experiences and things that I want to share. And I'll be bringing some more guests on soon, featuring them here on the pod. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. Subscribe, follow, do all the things. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.